Greetings, dear viewer. Thank you very much for tuning in to the August album haul. My goodness, 2020 is going so fast, and good riddance too. If you've watched one of these videos before, you know the deal by now. It's really hot and sunny outside, freezing cold inside, but what else can you expect when you're living in a New Zealand rental property? As usual, I'm going to try and keep this one short, but given the pile next to me, I'm sure the runtime will be longer than usual, so consider this the Snyder cut of the album haul. I'm going to ignore the structure I used in previous album haul videos, where I did like the new albums and then the new releases and the pre-owned albums and then my partner's new ones and second-hand copies and then music coming up. I'm just going to try and get through it in a way that makes sense to me because, yeah, there's a lot and there's an explanation for that as well, but it's mostly just trips out of town, online shopping, and one other thing that I'm going to bring up later. So I'm going to jump straight into it with the only new release album of August, which is, I almost said July for a second there. The first album we'll be looking at today is one of my most anticipated albums of 2020, Imploding the Mirage by The Killers. Yes, it's finally here. It was supposed to release earlier in the year, but then, you know, COVID-19 happened and lockdowns everywhere. And then obviously Dave Kuning's not on the album. So it's 3 of The Killers and numerous guest guitarists and writers, and they put together this album, which, you know, many people were wondering, okay, this is going to be good. There's 3 out of 4 of them. He's still in the band, and he's even listed in the booklet despite not performing on the actual record. But all that stuff aside, how is Imploding the Mirage? It's wonderful. You could almost say it's wonderful, wonderful. That's what I get for trying to make a bad joke. So, how is Imploding the Mirage? Well, I love it. So, as you already know, I really enjoy My Own Soul's Warning and Caution. Earlier in the month, they released Dying Breed as like their 4th, and I don't think final single. I think there's one more after this one, judging by the band merch they've got on their website. There's going to be 5 singles. Anyway, Dying Breed, I warmed up to that one pretty quickly. It's better than Fire and Bone in my opinion. So, 3 out of the 4 pre-release tracks I really enjoyed, but I've also come to love Running Towards a Place and When Dreams Run Dry, and I was speaking to the best drummer in New Zealand, and we both agree that Imploding the Mirage, the title track, is a really good one as well. I won't be giving reviews for all the albums I'm looking at today, but if I do, I'm going to be giving like bite-sized ones because I don't want this to run on forever, but you know, me being me, I'll probably ramble on anyway. I wouldn't say it's a contender for Album of the Year just because I'm still addicted to the Strokes and All Time Low's new albums from way back at the start of the year, but I do really enjoy this one. The Killers don't really excite me in a way that like some of my favourite bands like Fall Out Boy and All Time Low do. Like, I can listen to those and I get right into it and they get me moving and excited, whereas The Killers, I enjoy listening to their albums both as like background tunes and like really, you know, absorbing the music. Man, I sound pretentious. But there's always a few songs on every album that, you know, really get me going, and in this case it's always going to be Caution and My Own Soul's Warning. I'm so glad it's the opening track so I can just pop the CD and straight away, bam, it hits me. So good. That's enough about The Killers for now. Definitely a gold star of approval from me and well worth adding to their discography. Although the future of the band may seem uncertain, at least Brandon and Ronnie can still crank out good tunes. Okay, so breaking the structure of previous videos, as I mentioned before, I'm just going to go through albums in pretty much the order we got them. So at the start of the month, it was Tam's and my 6-year anniversary, so we took a trip down to Wellington for a couple of nights just to enjoy ourselves, and normally we go to Slowboat Records because that's the slightly bigger one, but there's also one a couple of doors down called Rough Peel Records, I believe it's called. If it's not, I'll correct myself here. And we had been there 1 or 2 times in the past, but they don't really have the genres we're into, and they have more vinyls than CDs, so we normally skip going in there, but this time we thought, you know what, we've got time, we'll pop in just in case, you know, who knows what we'll find. We got some good ones. First off, I got Hymns, which is Block Party's 5th album, and I got a deluxe version with 4 bonus tracks, which, you know me, I always love the deluxe versions, bonus tracks, music videos, demos, live albums, all that sort of thing. This one was quite cheap being secondhand, but despite that it was in pretty good condition, and now I have the entire discography, which means all I've got left to collect is the lead singer's solo albums. Block Party's another example of bands that I get into immediately after they come to New Zealand, so I guess I gotta wait another 10 years for them to come back. And the other second-hand album I picked up for the same price is Move Along. The All American Rejects are a band that I've been close to getting into for a long time, and as you'll see later, I have gotten into them. The song Dirty Little Secret by the All American Rejects, which is the opening track on this album, means a great deal to me because Rock Band is a series that I absolutely love, and it means a lot to my family, and every time I go visit my parents, my mother and I will play Rock Band together. It's like a cool family activity that we do, and we really enjoy it. Dad's on the microphone every now and then, and that's an experience and a half. I got a bit distracted for a second there, but the point I was trying to make is that whether it's in the old days on Band Hero for the PlayStation 3 or in modern days for Rock Band 4 on the PlayStation 4, Dirty Little Secret are one of about half a dozen songs that my family and I always play. They're our go-to set list, and it just means a lot to me. So I got this album because I wanted to expand my pop, rock, punk, emo horizons or whatever, and it's in a bit of a rough nick, so we'll get back to that later. Also, JB Hi-Fi had Kids in the Street, which I didn't realise was a deluxe edition as well, had several bonus tracks. I wish I knew that, because I would have gotten one that was in a better condition, because, I don't know, sometimes you go to a shop and they've got the albums wrapped up in cellophane or whatever, and they're good condition, other times they don't, and you can tell that they've been sitting on a shelf for years and they're all scratched up to pieces, and this is one of those ones. But, like I said, I'll get back to the All American Rejects later. As for my partner Tamsin, she picked up Foal's third studio album. She loves Foals. I'm slowly getting into them, as you'll know, because I mentioned what went down a couple of months ago. This one's really cool. I actually recognised a couple of songs on here, so I thought, haha, I'm clever. I know songs that I didn't previously recognise. I don't know what I'm saying. That just leaves Total Life Forever, I think it's what it's called, their second album, I believe. And then we've got the entire discography of Foals. She also managed to find a brand new sealed copy of The Kills' Ash and Ice, which I think is a very confusing name to say given Game of Thrones context, but I haven't listened to The Kills, so I can't, comment on this, but I love the album cover, and they've got all these cool symbols on the back that are supposed to reference the song titles, and instead all you can see is the reflection of my DVD shelves. And finally, from our anniversary trip, I brought Tamsin Hellfaxer, which is Grimes' first studio album. So now she has Grimes' entire discography now, which is cool, unless you count the movie soundtrack or the crossover album, which I think you can get on Trade Me, but as for the main studio albums, yeah, now Tamsin has Grimes' full studio album set. So we've looked at the 6 albums we got on our Wellington trip, as well as the new Killers album. I just realised I'm wearing a Killers t-shirt. I totally did that intentionally. Now comes the part of the video where I feel a quick explanation is warranted. So upon returning from our anniversary trip to Wellington, Tamsin and I began looking at gift ideas for each other because it's her birthday at the end of August and it's going to be my birthday at the start of September. Now obviously as an avid album collector I was looking at CDs specifically on Trade Me, and there's a really cool seller that's based in Wellington but they don't have a physical retail store, which sucks because I'll be going there all the time. But anyway, I've bought albums from them years ago because they have really rare albums that you can't really get anymore, especially in New Zealand, and they're always new copies. I was looking at a bunch of albums that I've either wanted to get for ages and have been too expensive, or just, new albums I'd like to get into. So here I am looking at a whole bunch of mostly cheap brand new CDs sitting in my shopping cart and watch list as potential gift ideas when I'm given some devastating family news that just naturally upset me quite a bit, and with my impulsive personality I thought, well, I've got a bit of money, ever so slightly, I'll get some of these, bit of retail therapy. Now one would imagine I would have learnt from my past mistakes, as you would have seen before if you've seen any of my Road to Concert vlogs where I'll be saying, oh yeah, I've got a little bit of spare money, I'll be a bit frivolous, maybe buy that extra donut at Tart Bakery or get a band hoodie that's like $100 or something, and the very next day something wrong happens, and yep, it happened again. So I've got a little bit extra money left over from our trip away, so I thought, right, bit of retail therapy, I'm upset, why not just spend some money on some cool things? And don't get me wrong, they are very cool things, but of course, life comes along with groceries and bills, and in this case it was work or lack thereof. So one of my jobs, I haven't really worked for the last 4 weeks, and it just so happened to coincide with family news and spending money, so all but one of these albums was less than the price of a standard CD, which is like a good bargain, but at the same time it was just like, yeah, I shouldn't have done that. That being said, I do really love this whole collection I'm about to show off, and I honestly don't know where to start. I figured I'll start off with discography completers, so albums that are like the last one I need to complete an entire discography of a band or an artist. Naturally, to keep the video's runtime down, I will do my best to keep my mini reviews and impressions as short as possible. Also, I haven't actually had a chance to listen to every single one of these, because I've just either become addicted to 1 or 2 of them, or just haven't had the time really. First up is Foo Fighters and their debut album, Foo Fighters. So they're a little self-titled, it's raw, it's grungy, it's Foo Fighters. That completes my Foo Fighters discography. Hooray. Next up is I'm With You by the Red Hot Chili Peppers. So this one and One Hot Minute were the only albums I didn't have. I still haven't got One Hot Minute, but I now have this one. Now what I like about this one is it comes with this cool box set with a t-shirt in it, and it's less than the price of an album. Okay, oh, so it's just the plain t-shirt with the band's name, and it looks like it's got a fly on the back. I just rambled off for 10 minutes before I realised I wasn't recording, so yes, the shirt is indeed the album cover with the fly on the pill, and yeah, I haven't had a chance to listen to this one yet, but I'm looking forward to it because I'm kind of digging Red Hot Chili Peppers, like their modern vibe, and they've got the guitarist back, because this was the first album without the guitarist, now that guitarist's back, and it's a whole thing. The fans are all over on Twitter. Next up is one of my guilty pleasure bands, obviously being a fan of Guitar Hero and Rock Band and all of that, Dragon Force. Dragon Force are a band I'm very familiar with, and I got a hold of their very first album, Now, their first two albums, Valley of the Damned and Sonic Firestorm, you can't really get anywhere anymore, not even on their website. I got this for only $8, which is cool. I like Dragon Force, I like the early stuff with the original singer, their modern stuff. Like I said, they're a guilty pleasure band. You really got to be in the mood for it. Speed metal isn't a genre that I find myself falling in love with. Yeah, I do appreciate what Dragon Force have to offer, and I really wish I got to see them a couple of years ago, but, you know, money. One thing I will say though is that I'm disappointed in the fact they accidentally printed the sleeve wrong, so that the side of the disc is upside down, which means when you put it on the shelf, it either reads backwards unless you put the album upside down. So just a small nitpick, but as a collector, that's the kind of annoying nitpicky stuff that bothers you. And the next one we're looking at is another Dragon Force album. Now this is the one that wasn't cheap because it is the super rare Ultra Edition with the CD with a couple extra bonus tracks and the DVD. I have a few of their deluxe editions with DVDs. I think I have 3. So obviously outside of the sleeve they've got the regular case, got the DVD with all the music videos and the behind the scenes and all that sort of fun stuff. Now I know the bands don't look at this album as fondly, but I love the CD. I love this one. It's like in between two of my other favourites. You know, that has like Cry Thunder and Three Kings. I'm not sure if anyone watching this is also a Dragon Force fan, but if you are, please let me know, because I don't know any Dragon Force fans. I don't even know if I'm a Dragon Force fan. Moving right along with a sweet Daft Punk double pack. Now it's one thing to find a cheap album, but a cheap double album? Awesome! I've had Daft Punk on my wish list for years. I have their latest album, obviously, that has like Get Lucky and the crossover with Julian Casablancas. But I've always wanted the album Discovery, you know, the big one that they had the Interstellar, the anime movie with. Harder, Better, Faster, Stronger, One More Time. And this one also comes coupled with Human After All. Now, I haven't listened to Human After All yet. I've listened to Discovery, and man, there's like 70% awesome breakout tunes that are just so good, and I can listen to them over and over again. Probably like 10% okay tracks, and then 20% like just the worst, like not the worst, but like the things I don't like about EDM, where it's like not a chorus, just like one line. Sometimes it's a phrase, like 2 words, and they just warp it and repeat it over and over and over again, and it's really repetitive. And what I liked about what I've heard about Daft Punk, and they've obviously moved on from that with Random Access Memories, each song is unique in a way, and it's not repetitive, whereas there's a couple of tracks on, at least on Discovery, like I said, I haven't listened to Human After All, where it's just like the same thing just repeated ad nauseum, and it just gets on my nerves a little bit. I don't hate EDM, but it's just one of those things where it's, I guess, similar to drum and bass, where it's just one line repeated over and over again, and it's more about the music. But while I can appreciate the music, kind of ruins it when you get something going I'm rambling again. So I remember last month when I picked up Calm by 5 Seconds of Summer. Well, that was like my album of the month. I was listening to that so much. And I wanted to get some of their older albums that I initially didn't care for, because I assumed they were just like, not One Direction wannabes, but they did the tour with them and that's how they became popular and blah 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 blah. But I thought, alright, I want to get their starting album, their very first one. And they had this cool deluxe version that was listed on Trade Me. But it's a notebook. It's a fan notebook, so you open it up and it's got like notes from the band members to their fans. Definitely not copying One Direction or inspired by One Direction. I'm sure me saying that probably infuriates fans. I'm aware of them. I'm aware of the difference between One Direction and 5 Seconds of Summer, and they've branched off and done their old things. But in getting this, I went and listened to a bunch of their old EPs, and I actually really dig their old music. I appreciate their first 2 albums compared to their latest 2 albums, like Youngblood and Calm. Like, this is proper like pop rock, whereas the new stuff is more pop, a little bit of rock influence. Do I make sense? I don't know. I realised the only song I'd heard from like their early days was She Looks So Perfect, because that's the song that was all over the radio. It was on Rock Band and SingStar and all that sort of thing. There's some really cool ones on here, and I've come to really enjoy a couple of their early EPs as well. I hate that it's a notebook though, and that I have to pull that out the shelf and open it up every time I want to listen to it, but that's just a nitpick. I'm just picking all the nits today. Sorry if the camera keeps moving and the light keeps changing. The neighbours' kids are outside running rampant on the lawn, so I'm adjusting curtains and doors and stuff. Anyway, this next album I'm very excited to talk about. This one is Fun. You remember Fun? This is their first album, Aim and Ignite. Now, Fun is that band that you heard all over the radio in the early 2010s, because they had Some Nights and We Are Young. The lead singer had the song with Pink. They were huge for a hot minute, and then they just vanished and disappeared and went off to do their own things. Well, this is their first album, and it is a delight. I know some people just can't stand Fun, and I understand why, but if you don't like Fun, if you don't like their album Some Nights, which I have lying around somewhere, I got it in like a thrift store for $2. I can equate this experience to like listening to Pretty Odd for the first time, Panic at the Disco's second album, where it's like a jaunty, fun, little romp through a different variety of sounds, and like they're multi-instrumentalists, and they put that to like the absolute extreme for this one. If you don't know much about the band Fun, there's 3 of them, and they all play like 10 instruments each, so there's all these wonderful sounds coming out of it, and I just absolutely love it. And it's a shame that they only lasted 2 albums, but you know, I guess that's a thing with bands, you know, they don't gel well, or just life happens and they move on and they do their own things. And I have the singer's solo album, and yeah, the less said about that one, the better. But I absolutely love this one. It is a joy to listen to, and I just want to listen to this now. I'm going to listen to this after recording. Fun are a band that were on top of the world for a while, and they made the mature decision to move on and do their own things. And I know one of the members of the band has gone on to work with like Taylor Swift and like heaps of popular artists. Vampire Weekend, it's insane. This is their humble beginnings. Please give it a listen. That's my recommendation for the month. Give the first Fun album a listen. If you hate it, then come back and tell me you hate it. Alrighty, we're on the home stretch now. So throughout the month of August, I was experimenting with different genres and decided, you know what, I'm just going to dive headfirst into like pop punk, punk rock, what was considered emo in the early 2000s, just all that good stuff. Because this last year, and even like to a lesser extent the end of 2019, is when I got introduced to Blink-182 and All Time Low, and I love it. I am obsessed with All Time Low. They're like my current fave, pretty much. And I'm finally beginning to appreciate old Blink-182 as well, because I jumped on board, you know, in their last 2 albums where they've got the new singer Matt, but I'm slowly getting used to Tom DeLonge's voice. So as a result, I found myself listening to so many like older bands like the Red Jumpsuit Apparatus, You Me at 6, and I ended up getting a couple of albums to accommodate those. As you saw earlier in the video, and in the start of August, I picked up a couple of All American Rejects albums, and I friggin' loved them, so I went and got the entire discography. Their very first self-titled album, the All American Rejects. This one is cool. There's so much variety on here. I just assumed, oh, you know, early 2000s, it'll just be emo, just sounds, because I don't know. I thought I knew what emo was, because the emo to me was always My Chemical Romance, and then Openside were talking about how they're the new emo, and then so many bands these days say they're emo, and it's like, that's not what MCR sounds like. What does emo really sound like? And people say Panic at the Disco were emo, Fall Out Boy were emo. Were they? What is emo? I don't know. I'm learning. I already knew of Swing Swing because of Rock Band. It's like a song in Rock Band, but I really like Happy Endings in the last song. Ironically, like the last 2 tracks on the album. They're really cool. There's one other one on here. Is it Don't Leave Me? I feel like Don't Leave Me is one. They're all slow songs. Why do I like all the slow songs? Oh yeah, that's why. Next up, I got the deluxe version of Move Along, which comes with an extra acoustic bonus track. And you might be thinking, why have you got the same album twice? Well, they were both dirt cheap, and the other one's in pretty rough condition. So now I can gift that one to my mum, and she can listen to Dirty Little Secret all the time. Move Along, It Ends Tonight, Change Your Mind, 1111. There's so many good tracks on there. Night Drive, that's another good one. I'm digging All American Rejects. I'm slowly getting used to his voice. I don't want to say he's a bad singer, but like, for the last 5 years, I'm used to Patrick Stump and Brendan Urie, who can just like vocalize like nothing I've ever heard before. And now I'm slowly getting into other bands. Well, Blink-182 is a perfect example, like Tom and Mark and Matt. They can't sing, but they still make great music. And finally, When the World Comes Down. Now this album I didn't listen to for the first time until last night, but it's so cool. And this is another one that's like a deluxe album which has got like 8 bonus tracks, demos and live versions. And yeah, what was the song I really liked on this one? Another Heart Calls and Real World, I think. And obviously you got Breakin'. Damn, girls. I suck at giving mini reviews. Don't ever let me become a music critic. And finally, the epitome of early 2000s. This one's not so much emo. I reckon this is just teenage angst personified. Simple Plan. I got a couple of their albums. Their first album, no pads, no helmets, just balls. Yeah. Edgy teens in the early 2000s. The only Simple Plan song I thought I was familiar with was the last song of the album, Perfect. You know, the I'm sorry I can't be perfect. That one. Wow, I should join a punk band. Oh my goodness, just reading the names of the songs. You don't mean anything. I'm just a kid. The worst day ever. Must hate me. Oh, yes. Teenage angst. Wow. The follow-up album, still not getting any. What are the names of these albums? This one is the extended tour edition, which is cool. It comes with like a DVD and a whole bunch of bonus tracks, you know, acoustic, live, demos, all that jazz. And it was through listening to this album that I realized, oh my goodness, I actually recognize these songs from my youth. Songs that I didn't know the names of, I didn't know the band, but I recognized them. The opening track, Shut Up. You know, when I was a kid, there's the song on the radio, it's like, shut up, don't wanna hear it. And I used to sing that at home all the time. Yeah, and then I'm listening to this album like, oh my gosh, it's that song from my youth. And then there's the song Untitled. Now, I know a lot of bands like to release a song that's just called Untitled. But it's the song, the meme song, the how could this happen to me? I made my mistakes. I said that I'm sorry. Am I losing my mind while making this video? Probably. I'm in a good mood for a change. Simple Plan, I knew them from the Scooby-Doo theme tune. When I was growing up, I watched What's New Scooby-Doo, and when I grew up and realized that was Simple Plan, I thought, hey, this is a cool band. And at last we come to the final new album, which is Simple Plan's self-titled album. Now, I know they have like a cool deluxe version of this one, but they only had this one for like $5. And the extended, like, deluxe version that had like twice the amount of tracks is like $45 import from the United States, so I'll just stick with the normal version. This is another one I haven't had a chance to listen to, but I started listening to it while I was hanging up the washing before doing this video. And just the first 2 tracks, When I'm Gone and Take My Hand, wow! I get a feeling I'm going to love this album. Now, of everything that I've bought, obviously I've already loved the Aim and Ignite by Fun, but I've really come to love Kids in the Street, Move Along by All American Rejects, and I feel like this is one that I'm really going to get into as well. And that's finally it for the September album haul, unless you count a whole bunch of these CDs that Tamsin's parents found in a drawer downstairs in their house. So an Enemy bonus disc, another copy of A Fever You Can't Sweat Out, another copy of Viva La Cobra, another copy of Escape the Fate, This War Is Ours, another copy of City of Evil by Avenged Sevenfold, and the single Foundations by Kate Nash. This just goes to show how funny it is that all the bands that Tamsin used to be into when she was younger, I'm getting into now. Completely by coincidence, for the most part. But yeah, I can't believe we already have all these albums. Had to take a bit of a break from recording because I was losing my mind, and also Tamsin came home on her work lunch break for lunch, so sat and had lunch with her. Later neck, this white t-shirt mixed with the couch slouch is making me feel self-conscious, so I might just zoom in. Doesn't quite alleviate the fact that I'm always on an angle, but whatever. Alrighty, as we finally start winding this video down, we'll take a quick look at the music highlights for August. First up at the start of the month, Minority 905 released 2020 Holiday, which is a biting take on this wonderful year that we've got, and they did the same music video idea that Holloway Holiday and Blink-182 did, so I'm in this one too, and I'm just as excited, and it's a really cool experience. Next, I just wish I had more creativity. Next up, I Don't Know How But They Found Me released Leave Me Alone. Now, I Don't Know How But They Found Me was the t-shirt that I wore in last month's album haul, and I didn't really enjoy this track. I know it's only the first track off their new album, or their first debut album, because they had their EP, which is this amazing symphonic technical masterpiece, and it's only half a dozen tracks, but it's so good. And the couple of tracks they released before that didn't make it onto the EP. They've got a really passionate following that's growing more and more as they release more funky music videos. And when they released their Christmas EP, which was a digital-only 3-track EP, which were just a couple of covers, and I think maybe an original song. Now, Dallin Weeks, who's the vocalist, is he always does like Christmas songs for years. He's done several of them that are all over Spotify and YouTube and that, and they're pretty cool. So I feel like it was just more of that, because they didn't have their signature sound, and I thought, I mean, this could just as easily be a solo project or the Brobex, but I'm guessing he had Ryan there, and Ryan's the other member of the band, so it's technically, I don't know how, but it didn't have their sound to it, so I thought, that's alright, we'll just wait to see what their first album is. And this seems to almost have ditched the sound. I mean, there's still like a little bit there. They're very passionate about exploring old technology and how they used to make music back in the old days to make fun and interesting techno sounds. Again, I don't know how to explain music. I think I enjoyed the music, but just didn't really like the lyrics, and I'm hoping that the next track that comes out will grab me more and give me some hope for their debut album whenever it eventually releases. Oh wow, it's October, that's awesome, woo! I can see a bad trend starting up of songs I'm disappointed to, so I'm just gonna try and quickly brush past them. Next up is Blink-182's Quarantine. I'm not gonna use the single art because probably get demonetized. Demonetized? None of my videos are monetized. What am I talking about? Quarantine is a Blink-182 song that doesn't have Matt on it at all, so it's only Mark Hoppus as the vocalist and then Travis Barker on drums. And I heard it a couple of times and I didn't really like it, and thought, no, I don't like this. It's a bit repetitive, but just, I don't know, just not really what I'm into. And then like all the comments and all the reaction to it was like, this is great, this is like old Blink, this is so good, we love it so much. And I don't think it was because it didn't have the other vocalist on it, but it was just, yeah, I was so surprised that here's the song that came out, and I didn't really enjoy it as much, and everyone was loving it, so good for them. Next up, Ava Max released Who's Laughing Now? Now, Ava Max is an artist I've mentioned several times in previous months' album haul videos and like new music highlights at the end of the videos, because it's an artist I was following, and I was really looking forward to them releasing a solo album or something, because she's obviously most well known for Sweet But Psycho, and she had some other great songs like Torn, Freaking Me Out, So Am I, and most recently Kings and Queens. But I'm going to try and avoid a Hayley Williams situation, just say that I've kind of fallen off that hype train. I mean, the album's announced and it just doesn't look like something I'd be interested in at all. But this song, it's similar to like when I very first heard, I think it's Idol Worship off Paramore's After Laughter album, where it's got the la 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 in the background. So that just that one repeated line that kind of annoys me and ruins the song for me. But I learned to love that song quickly because I love Paramore. But in this case, there's this weird ha 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 that plays like in the background all the time. Like you've got this really cool song, beautiful vocals, amazing instrumentation, and then this random, like a laugh. Anyway, not a fan of the new track, probably won't end up getting the album, but I'll listen to it for sure. Bon Jovi released Do What You Can for about the third time. He's got a music video this time. I swear this is the song where he started writing it during the COVID lockdown and wherever he is in the States. And they had, he did this cool thing where it's like, hey, you send in your own stories or your own verses, so I'll do the chorus and the first verse and then we'll incorporate other people. So he had like several versions of it. But it was, you know, just like celebrity live stream, you know, just like a vertical camera, a phone camera where he just sings the song and incorporates other verses into it. So that was cool. And then they actually did like a live version. And then they did I think it was a studio version, but it was still just him. And it had like a lo-fi music video to it. And then now he's got an actual like version of it that sounds like there's more band members in there. I don't know who's performed on the track. And like a proper music video where he's walking through the streets with the face mask on and all that sort of thing. It is what it is. I don't have much else to say about it. I'm slowly learning to just incorporate the songs I actually enjoy every month and not just like every song that comes out. So I think next month I'll just skip the ones that I'm not too fond of. How's this for timing? As I was going through my, you know, emo pop punk rock dive, looking into like Good Charlotte, You Me at 6 and everything, You Me at 6 comes out with Make Me Feel Alive, all in caps lock, with a wildly creative music video and a rapidly different sound, because they obviously started out, you know, they're kind of pop rock band in the early 2000s, then they went, you know, more pop, I guess indie rock kind of for the last couple of albums, and then this comes out, it's like, whoa, 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 this is like some psychedelic Holloway Holiday sounding stuff. It's not my preferred genre, but like, I just can't stop listening to it. It's really good. So literally 2 days before filming this video, the Red Jumpsuit Apparatus, who I only know one of their songs, uploaded a brand new digital EP, which is half a dozen tracks long, and I love it. It's destiny. It's meant to be. I'm now going to get into the Red Jumpsuit Apparatus, so don't be surprised if in the coming months you see me get every single one of their CDs as well. I'm joking, or am I? Finally, I wanted to talk about this cool project that's just very low-key, but I've been following it since they announced it, and I've really enjoyed the insane variety and randomness it's brought. So FOH Records has released Nature's Pest, which, according to them, Nature's Pest is a compilation of bootlegs, remixes, and covers of classic Kiwi anthems made with love and zero permission. So a fair few familiar artists that I am aware of worked on this little project. And the one that I want to bring up is a collaboration between Art Heist, who did a remix of Character Flaws, one of my favourite open side tracks, and Josie Moon, the New Zealand artist who I've mentioned several times in the past as well. They teamed up to bring us a cover of Good Shirt's 2006 song Loner. So you've got Art Heist doing the music and Josie Moon doing the vocals. I think I said Art House instead of Art Heist. It's Art Heist. And even if you hadn't heard the original, this is something just way out of what I expected. It was track 2 of 14. I think they're up to 14 songs now, whether more is coming in the future. I know Art Heist did another song, but it's this weird, funky mixtape, and I love it. I love it to bits. Like, some of them, they're so random, so far out of left field, that I can't help but just appreciate. And there's another couple of artists involved that I've liked, and it's one of those things where they don't get many views on YouTube. I haven't seen them on Spotify, but I would really appreciate if they had like a CD version of it, because, you know, obviously album collector. But yeah, it's really cool, and I do recommend giving it a listen if you're in the mood for something quite different. That concludes my music highlights, and now for what I'm looking forward to which, unfortunately, there isn't much. I just realised that there's no more albums I'm looking forward to the rest of the year. We've got Green Day, 5 Seconds of Summer, The Strokes, All Time Low, The Killers. Some nice surprises along the way, like Grimes and Group Love, but yeah, unless, I don't know how, but They Found Me's releasing an album this year, that's it. What is there left to look forward to? Bon Jovi? I think the Gorillaz are making an album. They've been releasing music all year, and I assume it's going to end up on an album, but who knows when that's going to be. The information's probably out there, I just haven't looked it up. But anyway, so what I have to look forward to in the meantime, on the 4th of September, Navy is releasing The Final Pieces, a 4-track EP, which she describes as like a cap off to the end of the year that was 2019, so like an end of that saga, moving on to the future of her music career. Navy, of course, being another New Zealand artist I've mentioned time and time again on the series. I enjoyed Pieces, the leading track that she released last month, and the fact that that's going to be like part of this EP is really cool. So there's been so much amazing New Zealand music this month. I know I mentioned the same like 4 or 5 bands and musicians every single time, but sure enough, Foley and Josie Moon have both been in the studio and posting videos on their Instagram like, hey, new music coming soon. So I know Josie Moon's been working on her debut like full-length album for a while now, so I'm very looking forward to seeing that. Very looking forward to, yes, good English. After releasing their debut EP, Foley have done 2 crossovers with various bands that I've both really enjoyed, so could they be working on a new track or a new EP? Who knows, I'm excited! Now here's the most important announcement. If you are watching this around the time of upload, so around September, Holloway Holiday are about to embark on a fairly huge North Island tour of New Zealand. We're talking like Wellington, Whanganui, Palmerston North, Auckland, Hamilton, and a couple other places, I think. Like, here's the tour poster. So if you're watching this around the time of like this coming out, they're not like an insanely popular band that'll have like sold out shows. So please, if you could do me a serious favor, because I really like this band as people and as musicians. I even got the opportunity to hang out with them a bit at the start of the month. And yeah, they are really legit dudes, and I can't wait to see them live for the first time. Please consider going along to one of their shows, because I mean, what else have we got to look forward to? Every concert is cancelled. Fall Out Boy and Green Day and Weezer are cancelled. Tame Impala are probably going to cancel. Tamsin's waiting for Stormzy to cancel. We're never going to get to see MCR. So this could be an awesome opportunity to actually get out and see a band, even if it's just heading along to a local gig and supporting a New Zealand artist. Thank you all very much for watching. I greatly appreciate your viewership. If you made it through this long video, then thank you very much. If I'm watching this in the future, dear future self, stop spending money when you're upset, or just stop spending money altogether. I apologize for rambling. I've barely had any sleep, but I'm in such a good mood and I just want to talk. So thank you all very much for watching. Enjoy the rest of your day.